Hey guys, what's up? This is JRP77 from JG Games, and I'm following up on my promise so that I will do this tutorial. This tutorial was supposed to come out last week, but I accidentally recorded in the wrong frame rate, so I'm doing this tutorial now. This is basically just an intro into Substance Painter. Substance Painter is a 3D texturing software. You could call it a suite, but really Substance Painter is what we're focusing on. Now, there is some other there are some other software by Algorithmic that work with Substance Painter that are called Substance and are part of a Substance suite, but we are going to be focusing on Substance Painter because that is the main one. Substance Painter determines what all your objects will look like. You can make stuff in Substance Designer, but that's mainly procedural, and I prefer to use this because it's more like Photoshop, whereas Substance Designer is more like a node-based editing software. So that's basically Substance Painter. Let's go ahead and look at the interface. So you've got a pretty lengthy interface, and it's going to be easier to show you the interface once I load up a project. So for this, I'm just going to be using the sample that comes with the version I'm currently using. So I'm going to import this. Depending on how long it takes, I might skip, and I probably will end up skipping. Nope, I think it's already loaded. So the project loaded up. You can see this is Hans. This is kind of like their model almost. But you can see that we've got this really complex thing, and we are going to be texturing it. So you can see it's still kind of loading some data down here. I'm just going to let it run. I'm going to keep talking. So really, this is the interface. So you've got I'm going to explain the shelf, your layers, and your texture set stuff. And then the paint stuff is pretty straightforward, and you guys should be able to figure that out. It's not that complicated. Alright, so basically right here, you've got your shelf. You've got your 3D view, and generally your 2D view will be up here as well, but you can always turn that off in your viewer settings, I believe. I believe that you can change it in your viewer settings. Nope, that's not right. Forget that. So basically, you have your shelf, which allows you to have alphas. I'm just going to show you guys what an alpha looks like real quick, double clicking on it. Alphas are weird. It's basically an alpha channel, so if you wanted to add scratches and stuff like that, I don't know how to show those yet, but that's basically what those are. You have procedurals, which are generated noise. That's generally what it is. You got a bunch of those. You've got generators, which we will be talking about, and you get your textures. So these are all the textures used on this. And you got filters, which I wouldn't worry about unless you're planning on rendering in Substance Painter. Alright, so now that's the shelf. You got your brushes, your particle brushes, and your materials. So your brushes basically are just how you're going to be painting. So like, let's say I wanted to do like a paint spray. So I just double click on that, and then I'll just see that my brush changes. And if I just zoom in real quick, you can see that I can do a really quick I can just paint something really quick on there. Command Z works the same, like in pretty much all editing, photo editing stuff. So that's always nice. And then you got your materials and smart materials. If you're going to be texturing in PBR, I would suggest starting off with a regular material. But if you just want to, you can always go with one of these smart materials. They are very good materials, and I would suggest them depending on what you want. Smart materials, you generally take a little bit more time to load the materials do. So that's the interface, but you've seen I just imported this mesh in here. How do I move it around? Well, to do that, if you hold down the Shift key, you'll see you get some options. So if I will Shift and Alt, I believe, that allows me to snap to different views. So that's very handy for doing like top view, side view, front view, back view. That's helpful. But then you can also hold down Alt and just pan like you normally would. And then you can use the middle mouse button to zoom, and then the middle mouse scroll wheel to zoom, and then you can use the middle mouse button to pan. Pretty straightforward. It's one of those things you get used to, but it's a pretty good layout. But I've shown you guys this. Let's say you wanted to import your own mesh. Let's go through the steps because that's kind of weird in this software. So I'm going to show you guys that. To do that, all you have to do is go up to File, Open. Nope, that's not right. That will open up your saved projects. To do that, you click File New. Now you'll get some options. Honestly, don't worry about this. Dota 2 is for making assets for Dota 2 because Algorithmic, the maker, is affiliated with Dota 2, so they have a personal shell for that. But you have Metal Rough HQ, and Metal Rough Alpha Test. I would stick with PBR Metal Rough as that is what is used in Unity and Unreal, and those are the two main ones. If you build your games in something else, I would use something else if it requires that, but generally you will want to use this Metal Rough. So then you get this mesh right here, and let's just say I'm gonna import this knife I made. So that's all you have to do. It's just a select button. Then you got this. It's just your normal map format. I'm just gonna stick with DirectX. And then this is really cool here. This is the document resolution. This is something that one of the things that I've only seen in Substance Painter. I know that Quixels has it, but I have not been impressed with it as I have with this. You can actually change this at any time. So if I wanted to start off with 2048, let's say, and then I wanted to go into, let's say I wanted to start working in 128 so I could have a really fast workflow, I can work, and I can build up, and once I get into some detail, and then if I'm ready, I can go all the way up to 4096 when I'm finishing it up. So I'm going to just keep it at 512 right now, and I'm going to hit OK. This is where you will import your normal maps and your bake maps, but you can always bake them inside of Substance Painter. So I'm just going to open it up real quick, and you'll see that it loads up fairly quickly. Now let's generate some maps, and the main one I want to generate is the ambient occlusion. So I'm going to deselect all but ambient occlusion and curvature. And really, this doesn't matter. I'm just going to bake the textures. It's that simple. Baking textures is very simple. And as far as I'm concerned, it automatically applies them too. And you can see it's already put some shadows up there. Now notice I do have some problems with this unwrap. You can see right here that if I go over the teeth, if we go over the teeth, you can see it kind of leaves an imprint. That's because I've unwrapped this improperly. I'm going to try to do a tutorial on unwrapping in Blender coming up, showing like the basics. But right now I am a complete noob at unwrapping, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Alrighty, so that's basically importing your mesh. I'm going to jump back into the sample because it is a more complete, it's just a much more complete project than that is. That was a very quick thing I did in Blender, and I didn't put a lot of time into it. It was just kind of messing around. So while this imports, I'm going to pause the tutorial, and when we get back, we will jump into the layer system. Alright, so now Hans has loaded, that's the name of this. And so now let's just clear off one of these texture sets. So you got this texture set, which is basically like your sections of your mesh. So if you have, like he's got one for his body, and he's got one for his head, and for his helmet stuff, and he's got one for his shoes too. Because that the body has the most things in it, I'm going to solo the body. By clicking on this and then hitting solo, I can just solo the body. Also, as far as I'm concerned, this has an ID map, and I cannot access it. If you hit C, you can scroll through, and now I do not know how to get back because I'm not very good with this interface. Alright, it's M goes back to your material, C goes through your channels. This is very helpful for painting in multiple channels, and that's a very useful feature overall. So let's get into the layer system. I'm going to clear this layer system just because, not that it's not good or anything, but we just want to start off with something clean, something precise that we can use. So you see we've got this base mesh, and I can pan around it. I want to kind of color this seam right here. Now, if I go to you'll see I've got an ID mask right here. And so I notice that the gloves for sure have a color ID. So let's make a layer by clicking fill, because you have two types of layers. You have an empty layer and a fill layer. I'm going to create a fill layer, and this is pretty simple. This just allows you to make certain things, certain colors. It does it by lighting. It's pretty nice. gonna make it like a tan, orangish color. Like that. You can also turn your roughness down if you want to. So if you want it to be almost mirror-like, you could do that. But most of the time, you're gonna want to have roughness, especially for something like clothing, pretty high. And then metallic depends on what you want. If you're making a solid gold man, sure. But normally I would keep that around 0.1. All right, so that's pretty good. But I kind of want that only for the gloves. So let's mask this off. I'll get into the other types of layers in a minute, but for now I just want to show off the masking process. So to do that, I forgot which button it is now. Nope. There it is. So you have a few different types of masks. You have white masks, black masks, bitmap masks, and add mask with color selection. So basically what these are is white and black is similar to Photoshop, where if it's white, then you're painting everything off of it. So basically what you'd use is you'd use a black brush, and then you would just paint off what you wanted. For a black mask, everything would be invisible except for the areas you want to paint, and you would paint those on with a white mask. Bitmap mask is what you use to add images on there. So if you wanted to put the Substance Painter logo, for example, that I used on this thumbnail, you could do that. And then there's also this add mask with color selection. And this is where this ID mask comes in handy. This mesh has been color ID'd, which is one reason I also use this, is because it has been color ID'd. So if I go ahead and I add mask with color selection, you'll see everything disappears. And when I pick color, you'll see that I have a skin, I have all sorts of things I can select. So I'm going to select his gloves so that only his gloves are that tan color. And now you can see that anything I change on here, so like let's say we wanted to make this like, I don't know, a blue color. Let's make him a surgeon almost. You can see we can do that. That's a really cool thing. I have used it before. It is very nice. I highly recommend using this color selection. So let's do another one. Let's do a valve or something. Let's use these materials. Let's use a normal material. I'm going to find let's just find a good one real quick. I'm going to use a skin one, and I'm going to use skin wrist, and I do not want to do that. I'm going to hit Command Z, and I'm going to drag it on top of this layer. Now you'll see it fills everything, but this is simple to fix. All we have to do is add mask with color selection, and then pick a color. You know, I actually feel like that's a bit too rough. It needs less bumps. Let me play around with this for a minute. Alright, so I turned this UV scale all the way down to 0 just so I could get that color and roughness right. And that looks good, but now let's do his suit. Let's do a smart material. Let's use a bronze, no, let's use a cobalt blue for something. And I'll drag that on top, and you'll see it makes a folder right here. And these take a good bit of time to load. You'll see you have a progress bar down here. And so I'm going to add an add mask with color selection, and I'm going to select these brown straps. That looks cool. But now I kind of want it to be on these gadgets he has right here. So I can actually go in and select another color, and it will make those the same color. That's a really nice feature. I use it all the time when I'm texturing. It's really cool. But sometimes you may not want another color, so you can always delete that second color. So I think I've explained the masking with this color selection pretty effectively. Now let's jump into painting. I'm going to use a mask again, but I'm going to use like a sweater material almost. Not really rubber. I kind of want, might as well just use this sweater. I'm going to drag it to the top. This is like, if you've ever played around in Photoshop, you will feel right at home. I'm just going to use this just because it looks cool, and I'm going to change this color to like a green. A deep green, a brown green, like that. All right, so first of all, let's add a mask. Let's add a color mask. I know I'm using a lot of these, but this is a really useful mask. And I'm going to select his jumpsuit. But I also want a little bit to, I don't want this right here. So I can actually add another mask. Actually, no, I can't. Okay, so you can use that, but these are pretty ineffective because I don't want these seams to be right there. So I'm actually going to keep that, but I'm going to add another layer I'm going to actually duplicate this layer and remove the mask. By Command D, I can actually duplicate it. Now on this, I'm going to disable this, and I'm going to change the color to a tannish color. Now, we are going to paint, and I know I'm using a lot of masks, but masks are really useful. So I'm going to add a mask right here. I'm going to add, it's already got a mask on there, so I'm going to delete this mask. So I can add another one, and I'm going to add a black mask. Now, I'm in a white brush, so now you can see when I start painting on that I start getting this mask right here. The black mask is basically allowing me to, how should I say it? It's allowing me to paint on where I want stuff. So it gives that really nice feel of where like edges and stuff are. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to paint in his thing right here. The nice thing about using masks rather than just painting directly on the mesh is I can actually go back in and change this color whenever I want. I can even, let's say I wanted this to be like super weird and made it metallic. I can do that. And it's really cool. I can even randomize the C for the color. So that's basically painting. Let's look into generators. Generators are pretty useful if you want to generate rust and stuff like that, especially rust, dirt, things that would like collect up on stuff. So let's do that right now. I'm going to create a generator. Oh, that's a smart material. I forgot how you add these. Alright, you hit add generator, but I don't want it on this one. So I'm going to go find another material. Why not titanium? Just why not? I'm going to move it to the bottom so that I can move it to the top. And you'll notice that everything was automatically made titanium. Now, I don't like how metallic it is. I want it to be a bit more rough, not too rough, like 0.2. That looks good. Let's add a generator in this. Let's give it like an edge wear. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a generator, and it's going to ask me to select a generator. So you can kind of look at these and find out which one you want. This one's like a dripping paint. This is dripping rust, and you could play around with these settings. Just play around with it. It's really about how you want it to look. I'm going to do edge wear. Those always look cool. I'm going to change the level of this. And now, because this is starting to look weird, I'm going to go in. I can't add a mask. Generators are one of those things you really have to play around with. You really have to figure out what looks good, because you can see that I kind of got this, and that's not really what I was going for. Alright, so now that we've got this, I'm going to remove that layer because that looks cool. Let's look at the particle brushes. Now this may crash my computer, so I'll do what I can. I kind of want to add some veins, but painting them on is pretty difficult. So I'm going to create a new layer using this. This just creates a transparent layer. If you Photoshop users, again, you guys will know this. This is like hardwired into our brains. So while I've got this selected, I'm going to double click on this organic brush, and you can see it does like this organic thing. And this is where generally my computer crashes, because it tries to render this and I got two other monitors running. So, aha, there it is. I'm going to make this size a little bit bigger, and I'm going to click like this. And now you can see this is where my computer crashes. It is because it starts adding veins and then it doesn't stop. I'm going to hit Command Z, And I'm going to turn down my size a ton. And you can see already that this is getting some really cool results. I'm not even holding down the mouse anymore, but for some reason it's still going. And that's actually really all there is. It's randomly generated. I shouldn't say random. It's procedurally generated painting. That's really nice. So we basically just textured this guy. I mean, it doesn't look as good. I mean, we can go ahead and turn on everything, see how it would look with him. And it actually looks pretty good. I'd have to fix that seam and stuff like that, maybe put some stitches, but overall that looks really good. And you could get some great results just by using normal maps and using Substance Painter. Baking maps, ID maps, you can get some really cool results. Now, if you guys would like to see a tutorial on how to get an ID mask and how that works, post in the comments below. I'll do that. I got a cool tutorial coming up regarding Unity coming up next week. That's going to be a fun one. And I'm not going to tell you guys because I want you guys to figure out what it is. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.